Hi. How do you create a super app which grows virally without any marketing spend? That's exactly what Gour Lentell has done with Moya. He and his team have created an app that over 6.5 million South Africans use every day, and one which could easily see 10x that number over the next coming years. How does it work? Where did he get the idea from? And what's he planning next are just some of the questions that I asked him. Before we start though, I just wanted to thank our game-changing sponsor, Sybrin. They're a critical technology provider for organisations across Africa, and it's a real honour to work with them to bring this series of interviews with awesome leaders to you. Enjoy. Let's start at the end, or not the end, let's start in the middle, and I classify the middle as now. For people that don't know anything about Moya app, I think it's important that we just give them a quick précis about what it's all about and why I'm getting excited. I'm going to intro it though with why I'm getting excited. It starts off a wee while back and you've got no people. Now you are bringing customers onto your app at thousands, hundreds of thousands a month. I think the last time I looked at it, you've got well over 6 million, 6.5 million active users of the app. So there's something big here because I've not been involved in it. It's coming through. It's not, unfortunately, on a device that I use. You don't quite have it on iOS yet. It's for Android. What is Moya app?
Uh, Moya app is what a lot of the industry like to call themselves or refer to these days as a super app. And by that, really what's meant is it's one app that does many, many things. Moya app starts first and foremost with chat, but it's data-free chat. So it's like WhatsApp, but data-free. And data-free specifically means no data cost to the end user on a mobile network connection to use Moya app. And even if a user has no airtime balance or data balance on their SIM card, a data-free app will still work. So Moya app at the very front, if you like, is data-free chat like WhatsApp, but no data cost.
All right, let's have a look at
Moya
it.
app is.
Can you bring it up, Gour, just to give it a bit of context? It sounds it's difficult to picture it and visualize it. Maybe others have used it or can see it, but I think it'd be helpful.
Okay, well, there's a lot more to Moya app than just chat. So I guess by showing it to you, we'll try and introduce those other elements as well. So I'm sharing my screen now. You can see this is my actual mobile device. Live. This is my device live on a mobile connection. So you're looking at the real thing.
So I didn't think this was going to work, but it is.
So the Moya icon is bottom center. That's the Moya app. So I'll just tap that and go into it. So the first thing you see in Moya app is a chat experience, much like you would expect from WhatsApp, which is obviously widely used in South Africa. I should explain Moya app is very specifically focused on South Africa. So 98% of users in Moya app are in South Africa. This is a South African app, not sort of big global thing with users all over the world. It can be used in other countries for sure, but it's not data free. It's only data free in South Africa. So the chat experience is much like you'd expect of WhatsApp. In fact, we deliberately designed it. I had to often sort of keep our developers in line and say, WhatsApp is great. Everyone understands that, uses it. We're not trying to be better than WhatsApp, particularly. We're just trying to be data free. So the only innovation we've made in a chat context is we've separated personal chat from group chat. So on the right here, I've just swiped across is my group chats, and on the left are my individual chats. And we find a lot of people in South Africa appreciate that because particularly in many communities here, there's a lot of group chats for different community groups and social groups, and they can get busy and interfere with the inbox of your personal chats, making it more difficult to find the message from Colin, for example, or Candace. So by keeping them separate, group chats can get as busy as they like over here, but on the left-hand side, I've always got my personal chats. So I can go.
You've got a crypto chat there, so we'll have to dig into that in a bit. It's a bit dangerous showing your personal chats on here with me. We'll talk about that later.
Well, so this is a work chat, and I guess the one thing we should point out is that text chatting in Moya app is data free. So I can always text chat no matter what. If I've got no balance on my SIM card, I'm still plugged in and I can communicate with my friends and chat groups. What is not data free in Moya chat is images and attachments and videos. So you'll see here, Candace has sent me an image. I can tap and download that image. I get a warning saying this is not data free. Do I want to proceed? In other words, it's using my own data. So now the image is downloading and I can view that image. So, you know, as long as we're clear and upfront with users and transparent, we're not trying to trick them or anything else. There's broad acceptance that at least I can always text chat, but if I want to send attachments, images, documents, videos, then it's not data free. So there is a full menu of things I can send. And again, if I choose to send or take a picture, it'll say warning, this is not data free. And I can proceed to take a picture.
Now you said it's a super app, so that's great. That's a WhatsApp competitor. What else have you built into this app?
I'll show you. The one last thing I want to clarify there is if I want to send a voice note, I can send a lower quality voice note data free, record a voice and send it, or I can send a high quality voice note where I might want to sing or have music and so on. Not that you want to hear me singing, but I get two choices with voice notes: a completely reasonable one where you can clearly hear someone speaking, or a high quality one if I want sort of high fidelity sound quality, if you like. So to answer your question, that's the first part of Moya, this left-hand icon for chat. And then we have statuses in Moya, much like you would expect WhatsApp. No one's actually posted a status right now in my contacts. So I should ask someone to put a status, but I can view people's statuses. But much more importantly is this area we call Discover at the bottom. So in Discover, I have today well over 300 different content services, news, sport, weather, career information, jobs, educational content. I can read books, read the Bible, and get this whole range of content channels that you see on the screen, all data free. So this whole experience in here is data free, unless otherwise stated. There is a browser where I can browse the internet, but that's not data free. But the rest of the stuff is data free. So not only can I chat, I can spend my time accessing a whole range of information, games, etc., data free. So to give you an example of that, in the news category, there are a whole bunch of South African and global news sources. If I read this SA News Live, it's news provided by Arena Holdings, who publish Times Live, Soweto Live, Business Live, those papers and websites. So this news is coming from Arena Holdings, top quality news publisher in South Africa. I'm now reading through news data free. It's lightning fast because we severely optimize the data because we're paying for it to make it as low a cost as possible, which also makes it go fast at the same time. So I've got news here, I've got sport news, business and entertainment and business news. Much of the content here in business is the same as Business Live or Business Day, the newspaper. So
Right,
that's news.
that's cool. I'm just going to there's a specific app within there I want to get to, and there's also some questions that are coming through. So Gad, I do apologize if every now and then I do interrupt. I've just got so excited because there's so much to get through. Okay. So this is awesome. Yep. So we've got this data free concept for a large amount of the typical services that you're going to be wanting from your mobile device. How does that actually work? You know, and something I want to know, Michael Lawrence has just posted this question as well. How have you actually managed to create this, and how long has that technology been around for? And I think we can stop the screen share as well if you want.
Sure, but we must get back to the Moya app part of it.
We will.
We stopped the screen share. Great. So it's a long story, Colin. We basically saw an opportunity when I first became aware of what's called mobile network reverse billing in 2015. And so that's a product and service all the mobile networks offer in South Africa. And what that really means or is like is toll-free data. So if you think of toll-free calling, where you make a phone call, it costs you nothing because the company or whoever it is you're calling is paying the cost of the phone call. So you can now do that with data. So fundamentally, we can make the experience data free in Moya app, because we have connections to all 4 mobile networks for reverse billing, which means we're paying the data cost. Even more specifically, in mobile network land or speak, they would call it zero rated reverse bill data, meaning access is zero rated on their network, so subscribers don't pay and they reverse bill the provider of whatever the content or service is and bill them instead. We've shortened that whole expression and explanation to the word data free. So data free means no data cost to the subscriber because the other side is paying, the publisher, provider, the app, whatever it is. So in the case of Moya app, we are paying the data costs, which makes it data free for the end user of the Moya app.
How did you come across this technology in 2015, and how long do you think it had been around for?
Well, it was actually brand new in 2015. I think I was in India or had just been there, and a big Indian mobile network called Airtel at the time announced the launch of Airtel Zero, which was this first time I'd ever heard about the idea of reverse billing. And over following years, mobile networks around the world started adapting that and providing it as a basic product or service amongst their range of communication services they offer. So today you can go to MTN or Vodacom or whoever and get phones, get SIM cards, buy other communication services. You can also buy reverse billing, and they'll say, give us your IP address, we'll zero rate it and send you the bill at the end of the month. So that's the basic product the networks offer. What we've subsequently developed is a whole stack of cloud technology to manage reverse billing, implement it, secure it, measure it, provide analytics, and so on. So actually part of our business, the data-free business, is a B2B software as a service product for any enterprise that wants to enable data-free access to their digital stuff, apps, websites, VPNs, whatever it may be. So that's one part of our business. But we also then saw the opportunity to develop the Moya app for South Africa, and with a whole different sort of strategy behind it to build an audience platform of mainstream South Africa through the Moya app. So the software we've built makes reverse billing work.
What is it that drives you to do? And this is where I get really interested. There's the technology, there's the potential of the future, but there's this entrepreneurial spirit. I'm trying to look for these markers as we go through the conversation. This is generally genuinely one of them. There's some innate curiosity that you seem to have to get off your chair, get outside of your office and go and explore. You're in India, you're finding this technology. 99.9% of people, even if they're vaguely related in industries that have got something to do with telcos, are going to pass up on that opportunity and not investigate it further. Is this part of your DNA? Are you just naturally curious about these things, or was it just fluke and there was some other people that took you on the journey here? I'm just trying to understand what got you so excited about it to spend time and effort and money to investigate what might have been a flop.
I guess it's the entrepreneurial spirit in underneath it all. And I don't for one second think I'm unique in having that interest, aspiration. Many people do. I mean, South Africa as a country is full of entrepreneurs, from the man or woman that wakes up in the morning and has to figure out their daily hustle to earn a living, all the way up to tech entrepreneurs, business entrepreneurs. So I guess I'm in that camp of a basic DNA or innate desire or interest in creating businesses, technology in particular, seeing opportunity to start something and grow something. But I've been pursuing that interest for the last 25 years, basically. And once you start, it's very hard to stop. I can't imagine going back to big corporate or a steady job and a salary and so on, having been bitten by specifically the internet entrepreneurial bug 25 years ago.
All right, it's 2015.
As I say, by no means am I unique. Yeah.
Well, we'll be the judge of that. I'm sorry, Gour. It's 2015. You've come across this technology. Was this well, you sort of had this eureka moment because about this data free model. What was your thoughts in 2015? Were you imagining that this massive opportunity with millions, tens, hundreds of millions of people, or was it just simply this could be quite an interesting piece that I can run in Sydney and Australia on my exist? What was the journey there to go from this discovery to roughly where we are now and the vision that you've got today?
Well, I think perhaps a little bit of background context will help frame the answer to that question. I'm, for everyone, so everyone knows, I was born and grew up in Zimbabwe, but after high school left and went to live in England. My father's British, so I had the opportunity, or British passport, basically, opportunity to do that. And I lived in the UK for 12 years and went to university and started my tech career, IT consulting in London. I then moved to Sydney, Australia, in 1990 and have lived there longer than any other country. Got the internet bug in the mid 90s, got into my first startup with a co-founder in 1998. That was a success. And then the tech wreck happened. We did a second startup, which was successful. And really this business today is the third startup I've co-founded. So that's the sort of journey, and it started with tech IT consulting, and then the internet arrived in my life anyway, 1995, 96, and I never looked back, and I just knew that's the only space or place I wanted to work, and did our first startup in 98. So actually the business today, we Data Free, which owns the Moya app business, is the truth is a very old startup. So we started it in 2008. So that makes us 12, 13 years old now as a business. And we still think of ourselves as a startup and talk and act like that, but we're a pretty mature startup, as you might see from my gray hair. And it's been a long, difficult journey to get to this point. The previous startups sort of played into the mainstream internet space, had good tech, grew fast, and both were acquired within, the case of 1-2 years, and the second 3 or 4 years, perhaps. So that played very well to the classic internet startup: get a good idea, do something, build tech, grow fast, and then you have an exit of some sort. That hasn't happened in this journey, and we're still here today, still working hard, and I think now more successful than we've ever been in our long journey. But it hasn't been a bed of roses. So in fact, in around 2015, 16, we were finished. The company was dead, no employees, still some working tech. We'd originally built software to work on mobile feature phones. So this was before the smartphone era. So we first started thinking about Nokia feature phones. And from day one, I've always focused on the opportunity in emerging developing markets for billions of people who are going to be coming online, but through mobile internet, not wide internet laptops, but it's all going to be on their mobile devices. And there's some really basic challenges in emerging developing markets all over the world, not unique to Africa. Used to be speed. It was very slow on those those Nokia feature phone type devices. And cost of data has always been a primary issue. The speed thing has fallen away a bit with the improvement of arrival of smartphones and improving mobile networks, but cost of data is still a fundamental primary barrier or constraint for billions of people globally in spending time online through their mobile device, and it remains that way today. So we've always been focused on that challenge and seen opportunity in it, because if we can bring solutions to market that help deal with that constraint of cost of mobile data, or affordability of mobile data, I should say, that's a very big market opportunity. So that's how we thought about it from day one. If we have solutions that address that problem.
Ask one question there, Gour? When you say we, is that mainly you, or is it you and an inner circle there?
Well, I think my personality and the culture of how any organization I've been involved in building is very much a we rather than a me. So I have a co-founder in the business who lives in Sydney. He's the sort of tech brains originally behind what we did. and I'm part of that team, and our whole company is a team. So I will much prefer generally to talk about we rather than I. So
Good. I
I'm
just
just a
wanted to check.
contributor to that team. Yeah.
I thought that time in England
Yeah.
might have given you the royal we, but okay, good.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Um, anyway, so there's the issue of affordability of data, mobile data, is an issue all over the world, not just here. It's not just an issue in South Africa. It's the same issue in Latin America, Mexico, Brazil, and other countries. It's a primary issue in many Asian markets. It's a primary issue in many and most African markets. And interestingly, it's even a bit of an issue in some developed markets. And I can speak about that later. We've suddenly found we have opportunity for what we do with our tech back in Australia. And if it works in Australia, or there's a market need, it's going to work in America too. So ultimately, I think we see potential not just in this part of the world, but in some developed markets as well. But so that's how we've always framed the opportunity in our minds and thought it was worth putting time and effort and investment in bringing solutions to that barrier of affordability of data. And in the middle of all that journey in 2015, along came reverse billing and the realization that we could actually make stuff data free, meaning no data cost anymore, no barrier, no constraint on getting connected to any services that are data free. And that was a light bulb moment for me and us to realize that was something that could be done now. So the last really 5 years of everything we've done has all been about that reverse billing data free opportunity, or leveraging that to create business value around that, the raw product that the networks offer. So today, the value we've created is our B2B software business for enterprises, and Moya app as a B2C or sort of consumer opportunity to do something really different in this market in particular. And, you know, I've been living here for 4 years now in South Africa, and it's been an enormous, much more enjoyable than I thought when coming here, to be back in this part of the world and bring some of that experience I've had in other overseas markets to bear on doing something that I think is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my career, being back here doing what we're doing now. Rewarding in a broader sense. It's not just about money, it's, you know, having an impact.
Working in Australia, getting inspired by a telco in India at a conference or a fair, whatever. Back to Australia. This is when the company was called Bainu.
Yes.
Going bust effectively with the services, the making dumb phones smart, I think is a good way, from what I understand, to summarize it. But still having this incredible belief that the mobile market is where the access to billions of people will be. And now we've got this Euroca. What was it that, I assume you started trying to develop and build this out in Australia first, but at some point you've pivoted in your geography and you've come over to South Africa. What was the driver for that?
Well, truth is, we always knew the technology, the idea we had in the software we were developing was applicable in emerging developing markets first, not Australia or America, but, you know, some of those emerging markets around the world. And we, in the second incarnation of the rebirth of our business, made a very deliberate decision that we would first deploy our software and the business models around it in South Africa, to focus on one market, make it work here. If successful, then we can look at growing to other markets, both in Africa and other continental areas. But it would be based on first proving it out here in South Africa, not just as a technology, but as a business model and pricing and what the whole value proposition was going to be. And South Africa was kind of an easy choice. One, I'm from this part of the world, so immediately familiar. It's English speaking as opposed to Spanish in Mexico or Indonesian or, you know, I was thinking of Bangladesh. I'm not sure what language the primary language is there. I'll probably get it wrong if I suggest it, but there's a cultural familiarity here. South Africa is the biggest, most vibrant economy in Africa. It's a really good launch pad for other markets in Africa. it just made a lot of sense to start here. And I was completely open to and warm to the idea of coming back to live here as an adult after having left at 18. So it was kind of an easy choice, to be honest.
All right, that's interesting. There's a comment that's come through. I'll answer this one. Thanks for explaining your app, your vision, and your journey. The title of the webinar creates an expectation of a how-to session. I think it's a good point, but in my mind, this is exactly how-to, because what I'm trying to get in, and you can ask your questions around this, is the thought process and the build out to actually go. An app's an app. At the end of the day, a cloud service, a product, and offering, they've all got to solve a problem. I'm interested in how you and your colleagues have actually got there. So if the title's slightly misaligned, then I do apologize for that, but hopefully it's interesting nonetheless. Let's jump back to another question as well. I think it's now time to get into, it's still a great idea, but someone's got to fund it. I think it's time to understand that part now, and how you went and found the people that were going to do this. How does the reverse billing data-free model actually work with your B2B customers?
So that's a great question, and I'm very happy to talk about the how and the why, and so I'm a tech guy and love talking about this stuff. So, and it's really important. You can't just sort of have an idea and build a business with a strong, clear view on how it's going to make money or be sustainable. So, the basic strategy behind Moya app is to build an audience base, a digital audience base, meaning accessible online in South Africa of the mainstream population in South Africa, not wealthier people with cars, iPhones, and all the rest of it, which is obviously a good market in its own right. But the challenge for many enterprises, commercial companies, NGOs, government services is how to reach mainstream South Africa online. And the frustration for many is, having a digital strategy, creating apps, websites, putting things online, and then you run into this brick wall, and it's literally a brick wall where the population or people you're trying to reach can't connect with you, are extremely constrained in how much time they can spend connecting with you because they can't afford the data. And affordability is the key word there. It's not just the cost of data, it's about incomes as well. So how do you as a citizen in South Africa connect online to access government services, SASSA grants, tax office, applications, driving licenses? That's just government sector, let alone connect with commercial companies, enterprises offering whatever it is that you might be interested in when you can't afford the data, or you can only afford so much. So we're meeting that challenge head on and removing that barrier and saying, bang, it's gone. If you make it data free, if you pay for the data as an enterprise, you can now connect with people unrestrained, unconstrained. So the revenue model for Moya app, one is to build an audience platform of exactly that, mainstream South Africa. You can now connect with them. And you don't have to do it through Google, Facebook, and buy expensive ads and try and get clicks that no one wants to click, and they don't have data anyway to click through, etc. We have the audience on the Moya app. And advertising is a part of it. I get really frustrated with the whole digital industry who've been brainwashed for the last 25 years to think it's all about advertising. Sure, Google and Facebook espouse that, and they make 95, 98% of their revenue from advertising. So everyone just assumes today you have a digital thing online and you make money from advertising. It's a mug's game. That it's really difficult to actually build significant revenue volumes with advertising. The only two companies that clean up with online advertising in South Africa are Google, Facebook. Everyone else is picking up the breadcrumbs around the edges of that. Even Media24 is the biggest online publisher in South Africa, to my knowledge, is yet to make a profit. And they rely on advertising, and they rely on Google to provide that advertising revenue. It's a mug's game, if you ask me. So advertising is part of it. But on the Moya app, if you were to go to our website and look at the business section, there are multiple ways to engage the Moya audience. You can put ads, you can run ads for sure, and they're good quality vertical video ads. We have companies who pay us to have their website inside Moya app. So inside Moya app, I can show you, I can access the ShopRite website, the Avo by Nedbank website, and several others. And they are paying the data cost for that. We make a margin on that. And from the user's point of view, they don't have to figure out how to go to wherever on the internet or download an app or remember a URL. They just go straight into ShopRite, look at the specials, etc., and plan their shopping. It's easy in Moya. It's convenient. It's all in the one place, and it's all data free. And from ShopRite's point of view, they earn more value from paying the data cost for people to access their website than buying ads on Google, Facebook, and paying for the click-throughs to try and get people to come to their website when they can't afford the data or very careful about how they spend their data. So we have data revenue in Moya. We have a business API like the WhatsApp business API. We have, we have a messaging platform. It's a chatbot platform. We have companies like ShopRite and others plugging in their chatbot to talk to users on Moya because it's data-free chat, just like WhatsApp. So instead of just being on WhatsApp as a business account and chatbot, they can also be on Moya and reach and engage the Moya audience. We earn revenue from that. We have a full-blown market research platform on Moya app, which the big research companies in South Africa are paying us to use to access our profile panel of over 200,000 people. And we have several government agencies or research organizations using it as a platform to do research during COVID, for example. So that's another business line. And we have Moya Pay, which we haven't even discussed yet, which is a mobile wallet money store value that is, we think, will be the biggest revenue earner for Moya ultimately.
So I definitely, with my background, I want to get into that one for sure. What's another good?
Let me just say, Colin, the real inspiration or benchmark I look up to for Moya app in South Africa is WeChat in China. That is an amazing, phenomenal platform that everybody in China uses, and it's way more than just chat or just ads or whatever. In fact, WeChat Pay is the primary value of that platform. So we're bringing that to South Africa for South Africa with our own adaptation of those ideas, built technology here, and that's the game we're in. So it's far more than just, oh, here's another ad platform. I think that's an extremely limited way to think about the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can promise anyone on the call, if you do want to really frustrate Gour, if you follow up or email him or try to message him, just tell him that Moya app is an advertising platform and it's basically the same as Facebook, and you're going to get a bit of a lecture. So I'm suitably lectured and I get it. And I hope you do too. But for me, it's fascinating. You've got a dependency though on the companies and the organizations that want to, let's call it, share their services to the markets that you're slowly building up on. And whether it be government, let's use COVID, whether it be government that's wanting to push a message out with regard to COVID, or even go further than that to educate people. It's an educational institution. It could be hosted by a company that they're having some sort of interaction with their staff. There are so many user cases where there's a non-advertising requirement for organizations to communicate with millions of people. This seems really obvious now. You've been at it for 15, 20 years, and specifically on this app from your eureka moment, I guess 7. How hard has it been to get companies to start sponsoring and paying for the airtime and actually building up? Was there a really important anchor tenant brand or client that came on that opened the floodgates? Is it, what's been the progression there?
So there's several themes there, because there's sort of the data-free side of our business and the Moya app side of the business. But I'm also conscious, there's a question that's been asked by Philip, I think, about why would, Fiat, how does a company justify the ROI? How do we justify the ROI to clients for reverse billing? And specifically in Moya, I'll give you a great case study of ShopRite. ShopRite spend a large amount of money every month buying advertising online, Google, Facebook primarily, to get clicks, traffic through to their website. They evaluate how much those clicks cost, know what that cost is, and they have a value, an ROI sort of value they measure in terms of users on their website, amount of engagement, and so on. So there's an easy, not easy, classic digital marketing ROI equation. Cost of traffic, evaluate what that is per user, per click, established value gained on the website. You've got a model that drives their online spending, ad spending. We came along to ShopRite and said, well, if you put your ShopRite website in Moya, we'll make it data free and you pay the data. It was a very difficult equation for them to compute and understand. And in particular, the media agency they worked through said, I don't even know what you're talking about. It doesn't make any sense to me because I buy cost per click, cost per CPM and all the rest of it. What do you mean now we're going to pay cost per megabyte of data used? So
will you share with me after the call which media agency? I'd love to know.
Yeah. Well, so in the end, I said, okay, look, you're not getting it here. We'll do a free POC for you. For 24 hours, in fact, it was 22 hours, we took the ShopRite website with our underlying tech. We put it in Moya app. It takes us 15 minutes to do that. It's now data free. It's now in the shopping mall of Moya app because there's 3 million people a day inside Moya looking at stuff. So you don't have to buy, click and go and advertise on Google and Facebook or whatever. You just put it there and they walk in the door. In 22 hours, 62,500 individual people came and visited the ShopRite website, data free in Moya, no ads, no clicks, none of that stuff. They just walked in and they spent more time engaged in the ShopRite website than they normally find because it's data free. So they wandered around and looked at the specials and do what they do on the ShopRite website. And when they evaluated the ROI, like what was the data cost for that? Boil it all down to a cost per active user or cost per engaged user. Compare that to the same metric, cost per engaged user that you buy from Google, Facebook. It was cheaper and they got more. 62,500 people in one day. You know how much money you've got to spend on Google, Facebook to get that kind of volume of traffic, let alone engagement. It was cheaper. So when you put it in metrics that the customer advertiser understands and they can evaluate it on an apples to apples basis, it all suddenly starts to make sense. And they didn't lift a finger. They didn't have to run an ad campaign, book it, do the creative, all that stuff. They just said yes. I said, all you've got to do is say yes and we'll show you. And sure enough, since then, they've been an active customer of ours and growing their engagement. So as another part of that case study, ShopRite have 22 million people registered in their loyalty program, Extra Savings. And they have a vast amount of data about those people because they've got shopping habits and all the rest of it. They want to communicate with their own users about offers and things and advertiser promotions and so on. How do they talk to their own loyalty members online? Well, they go and find them on Google, Facebook, or they upload audience profiles to Facebook, which is now just telling Facebook this data you have about people who like coffee or nappies or buy nappies or whatever it is. So ShopRite's frustration is how do they talk to their own customers online? Well, you know what? A large percentage of them are on the Moya app because it's mainstream South Africa. So they can communicate with their own users on Moya app and not give all their data to Google, Facebook. And it's, you know, on a cost basis, more efficient. The users are more engaged because it's data free. So suddenly you're opening up a whole channel of communication for ShopRite that never existed before.
All right,
let's do Moya logic app. Of what we're doing.
Let's do Moya App Pay now because there's quite a lot of people that have mentioned it. WhatsApp me in the background. A lot of the people that I've invited are coming from a financial services background. And in all honesty, I want to hear about it as well. This to me seemed a little bit different though, because you're not... These other services, oh geez, there's so many questions. You know, if I think about ShopRite, it's their platform, their service. You're the intermediary, providing the gateway, if you like, to the customer base and for the customers to ShopRite in this novel way. When you look at the Moya App Pay, this is a little bit different because you're putting a lot of effort into building the service yourself and not being totally reliant on the banks and other financial institutions. Could you just talk us through that?
Sure. Can I share screen?
You can. Let me see. I might have to change the setting.
In a moment. Just enable it. And yeah. So actually, the truth is one of the big parts of the strategy behind Moya app with chat and content and so on to build this audience platform of mainstream South Africa is actually more than anything about financial inclusion and giving people an option that's better than cash or cheaper and better than the banking system. So I am shocked, literally shocked, coming to South Africa after living overseas for many years at how expensive banking is in South Africa. It's crazy. It's nuts. I have a free bank account in Australia with a mainstream bank. I have a free bank account in the UK. And in South Africa, I can't even get a bank account because I don't have a South African ID, or not easily. And when you do, it's more expensive than I've ever seen anywhere in my life. Banking here is expensive. It's good, high quality banking infrastructure, whatever. The problem in South Africa isn't unbanked, it's underbanked. People are banked, but they don't use the banking system because it's too expensive. Bank charges, account charges, fees on transactions. Every time you even think of your bank, it's costing you money. The Capitec, I'm just using them as a good example. The proposition is give us your money, we'll look after it, keep it all safe and secure and everything, which they do. But if you want it back, I'm going to charge you. Every time you get money out, ATM transaction, EFT, whatever you do, it's costing you money. It's like bizarre to my mind. And I think that's the opportunity in South Africa. To get real financial inclusion, you have to make it cheaper and affordable. In China, there are 1 billion people on WeChat. There are 900 million people who use WeChat Pay, which is their mobile wallet, all day long, every day for everything. And it costs very, very little. The transaction fees are minuscule compared to what you normally experience here. In China, 70% of all transactions in the Chinese economy of 1 billion people, now the second largest economy in the world, are done with mobile wallets. At little, irrelevant cost to the consumer. They don't use cash. They use, QR code, scan and pay, not cards, not banking rails, not POS devices that all cost money. QR code, scan, pay from 1 cent upwards. We're doing that in South Africa with Moya app and Moya Pay. So if I share my screen, I'll just give you a quick flavor of it. So embedded in Moya app, which the whole point is it's one app, it's not a separate app. On the right-hand side there, you'll see, we have been calling it Moya Paid or Pay D. We're about to get rid of the D and just call it Moya Pay. In fact, we sort of made that branding change. So I live on Moya Pay in South Africa. It's a full-fledged mobile wallet store of value. Money can be transferred in here from the banking system, from overseas transfers. I can get paid my wages, salary directly into this mobile wallet. There's no cost to register, no monthly account charges, zero. And we generally do not charge people to spend their money. It's more like the reverse billing model. The money or the fees are on the other side, people being paid or receiving money, or merchants or vendors or commissions from buying airtime, et cetera, et cetera. That's the monetization model. We don't charge people to spend their money. It's connected to the banking system. I can transfer money out to a bank account, no problem. I can do an EFT to you right now, Colin. I have a prepaid MasterCard linked to this account. So in fact, my balance is partly in my account and partly on my prepaid MasterCard, which I can use in any store around South Africa for grocery shopping, coffee, restaurants, you name it. I just tap the MasterCard. But increasingly, I can scan and pay a QR code. So if I want to get paid by anyone, I tap these links. I get my own QR code, which I hold up on the screen to someone, or I can wear it as printed form around my neck or whatever. This QR code can be scanned and paid by any other Moya paid user, but also by any banking app, FNB Pay, Absa Pay, you name it. All those banking apps can directly pay me into this account by scanning that QR code. No POS machine, no mobile connection, no cost of POS machine, no transaction fee paid to the card companies within the Moya system. So you can pay me for free. I will get paid. It costs me nothing. It's data free, happy days. A street vendor, a merchant, a business could easily register on the platform as a business or user, get their own QR code printed out, put it on the tabletop and get paid without any further fuss or bother. And our standard merchant fee to be paid is 1%, not 3% a la the card system. It's 1% within the Moya Pay ecosystem. So we have
can I ask a
businesses
couple of
now.
questions about this?
Sure.
And a couple that are coming through as well. So the first one I've got is presumably you're not a bank, you're not registered or licensed as a bank though. So you're under
So
the financial, what is it they called now? The Financial Prudential Authority. I think they changed their name
well,
since I left
technically it's a
banking.
mobile wallet. It's we have meet all the compliance requirements of the Reserve Bank in South Africa. Money in the Moya Pay accounts is actually sitting in a treasury account in the bank or a few treasury accounts. So it's completely legit, compliant with banking regulations here, but it's not a full-fledged bank account. So we don't have to go up a threshold of, we don't provide loans and pay interest, and we're not a deposit-taking institution where we hold the money. The money is actually held in the banking system. We don't use it or can't, we're not a bank. So this is a sort of tier below a full-blown bank account. In fact, it's better than a bank account because it provides most of the facilities of a bank account aside from loans and finance. But in terms of payments and storing money, it's exactly the same, and it's free, data free.
Did you find it
Much
difficult to
easier.
get the banks to support you? If I'm sitting there being narrow-minded as a bank, I really don't want to support this service because I'm probably losing money as more people go into this virtual world with free transactions. If I'm Capitec as you use them, I'm potentially losing out a small amount. And then following on from that, are you intending or do you already to have the major banks on Moya, even though they're competitors? So that Amazon system where you've got your own products, you compete equally though, and you also go and support others that compete with you.
It's complicated. I mean, we work through partner companies that have the compliance requirements, and they provide the compliance authority, and we do proper KYC when people register, etc. As I said, the money is in the banking system. We do interact with the banking system in terms of money in, money out. Our cards are issued with the sponsoring bank is Access Bank, so we're kind of a friend. We use banking services to enable Moya Pay. We just have a different pricing model to the end consumer than the banks offer. So haven't seen any friction on that front, and it's early days, but the whole strategy was to build an audience platform of 6.5 million people today, driven by chat and content, and then bring this into it, not download and build a whole new separate install base of just a banking app. And because of the integration with all the things in Moya, we have companies who want to chat to users, get paid for transactions. We can enable payments directly in chat without leaving it. So we have several businesses now working with us at a business level to use all the services in Moya app, not just Moya Pay, but it's a really important part of it. And we think ultimately the opportunity is to go to market here with something that's better than a bank account, and it's better than cash. The real competitive opportunity is cash. The cash economy in South Africa is still gigantic. The informal economy, the township economies, and so on, largely work on cash. And part of the reason for that is banking is too expensive. And you've got to change that equation to even have a chance of being an alternative to cash, like WeChat have done in China with WeChat Pay. So we're coming to market with something that's better than cash, we think, because it's safer, secure, easier. You remove all the risks and costs of handling cash, but it's not a bank account. It's better than a bank account because it's cheap and free and data free.
All right, the clock is ticking, so we're going to have to speed up now and try to move into some sort of yes, no, short sentence answers, Gour. Otherwise, well, we're never going to get through all of them, but let's get through as many as we can. And
I'll be quick.
And then Marius will be joining us in a minute or two to sort of close us out. And there is a summary I want to give as well because there's so many things I've learned off this call. But first up, from Stephen Van Coller, which is great because ex-MTN and EPS Banking, now CEO of EOH, asking you, do you have South African citizens? Do you have to be a South African citizen to use Moya Pay?
No, it's open to foreigners and obviously South African citizens. We KYC passports as well as SAIDs.
Question from
and that's allowed
anonymous.
by the regulations. That's completely legit.
We'll take that as a given. A question from anonymous. Why did WeChat RSA fail? I think that's a really good question, that as well. You could equally say M-Pesa, I suppose, in that sense. You're succeeding where others have tried before. What do you think the reason for that is?
Well, I don't think to disrupt the network effect of WhatsApp, which is gigantic. No one has disrupted WhatsApp anywhere around the world where they have market dominance and network effect. I think we're the first to do it anywhere in the world. And what it starts with and builds up from is data free. WeChat came to market with a product offering that wasn't actually as good as WhatsApp in terms of the chat experience, and was all this Chinese stuff in it that no one really understood. and it had a wallet in there, but no one really wanted or saw the value of that. So they had no chance against WhatsApp, in my view, and they failed miserably. And as soon as you start buying users, so by the way, all the growth in Moya app has been viral. We don't advertise Moya app, it's viral. And it only goes viral if the value proposition is clear and strong to people and they start to advocate it to their friends and family and so on. And for us, it starts with and always ends with data free. But the value provided by Moya app is so comprehensive and bigger than WhatsApp. People like it, so they tell their friends. We don't buy users, we don't bribe them, we don't give them free coffee or say you'll get a gig of data at a low price, which is what VodaPay are doing. People like Moya app and they tell their friends, and it's data free. So, it's the product value proposition has to be clear and strong to people to even have a chance of doing that. And I think WeChat just never even were close to that type of value proposition.
Marius, welcome back. I've got a few minutes, a question from your side as you've been listening in.
I think, Gour, if you could maybe just quickly comment on expansion into iOS and, maybe even USSD type. Obviously, if we expand the reach into Africa, then, what's the situation?
So for us, Moya app specifically is you've got to have network effect to be relevant, and you've got to be at a certain size and market to be relevant. So we're focusing on South Africa only. I'm not trying to take Moya app to other markets. It's really the new Mixit for South Africa. We're testing an iOS version now. It won't have all the features of the Android version, but we hope to have it released within weeks, by next month at the latest, and then build on it from that. So we see it as vitally important to have iPhone in the mix. Even though they're maybe 10, 15% of the market, you can't get full network effect without including iPhone. So it's not been a top priority up until now, but it is now for sure.
Stephen had a comment, if you could quickly have a look at that, Gour, but it's around the concept of reverse billing and making education available, to our captive audiences for free, really. Because I do think that financial inclusion is the right to have an education first. There's no point in spending money free if I don't have it. So, and I know that the Minister of Communication made some comments about that in industry as well, about MNOs maybe not as responsible as they should be by making data available for your comments on that.
So if you bear with me, I have very strong views on this. One, under COVID regulations, the government have mandated to the networks that they must zero rate certain type of content like education, make it zero rated, i.e. free, at their cost. I can tell you absolutely the MNOs fundamentally do not like or resent having to be made to make things data free at their cost, because they are wearing the cost, not the consumer and not government. And ultimately, it's not sustainable. You can't expect, we're a free market economy with those businesses for profit. They've invested huge amounts of investment in their infrastructure. They're in business to make money at a reasonable level. And that's the role of policies, to ensure a free market and competitive pricing. You can't wave a big stick and say, you must make it free at your cost, and it's good for the country. You can to a point, but that's not really a sustainable business commercial equation. So I think what the government should do is develop a strategy to say, you know what, we need to make a range of services data free for the citizens of South Africa. We don't need to give everyone 10 gig a month to go and watch porn on YouTube or whatever. We need to make essential government services data free for the benefit of our citizens who are taxpayers, et cetera, et cetera. The way to do that is decide what those services are, make them data free with reverse billing technology, or we can certainly help with that. And then negotiate with the network, say, you know what, it won't be zero rated at your cost, but we're going to pay you a price for this public good content, but it's going to be damn sure the cheapest price or your cost price, because this isn't about making money, it's about contributing to society, et cetera. But it's not only at your cost as networks. So we're going to work out a cost for this type of content that is maybe covers the cost of the network, so is reasonable, and gives them a commercial incentive to actually deliver a service and stand behind it and not be expected to do it all for free. but there would be a very special price from government with the networks to do that. And then you would change the game. The whole data must fall equation, political issue would drop away because government could clearly stand there and say, you know what, we've made this range of essential services data free for the citizens of South Africa, not everything, but just the important services. And the data must fall issue in that context has just gone away because we're doing the right thing as government, and the networks are part of that, but with a commercially sustainable model behind it so that it continues forever, not just, you know, emergency regulations mandating things and then the stick being taken away. So I really truly believe that, you know, the citizens of South Africa would benefit from that.
And Marius, we've run out of time.
Okay, good. So thank you everyone for having us in your offices, in your home offices, in your boardroom. So it's been a pleasure. Next time, Colin.
Yeah, so Monica Singer next time on crypto and DeFi and Web 3.0 and DAOs and the disruption that's coming. We interviewed her actually, I think it was a year or so, 18 months ago. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's changed in that 12, 18-month period, because my sense is quite a lot. So that will be up later. I think it'll be the last week of March, but everyone on this call will be mailing them to make sure they're aware of it so they can decide if they want to join or not.